Good morning from Cooperstown, North Dakota. I'm Jerry Rosin, and I'm here to give my presentation. The title of my presentation is To Bar or Not to Bar, Luther's Tavern Music. To understand a little bit, we're going to have some preliminary information about Martin Luther. He was a Roman Catholic priest, a teacher of theology, a doctor of theology, taught at the University of Wittenberg. And he wanted nothing more than to express his ideas and to express the gospel to the people and to his colleagues. And he wanted to do that through music. He was everybody knows that there was a turbulent time that Luther was living in. The ideas were changing, people were dying. Luther was an instrument in these ideas that were changing. And his main idea was to tell people about the gospel, and he would use anything within his power to do that, including music. Martin Luther was a big supporter of hymnody in the church. He wanted everybody in the church to sing, not just special choirs or just the priests. He wanted the entire congregation to sing. In fact, he once said that next to the Word of God, the noble art of music is the greatest treasure in the world. Martin Luther's thoughts are well documented. If you want to know about Martin Luther, you can find out anything you want to know. But as with any historical person, there are stories that abound that might not be true. My thesis is looking at one of those stories, one of those apocryphal stories. I want to know whether or not Martin Luther used tavern songs in his hymnody, whether he took the songs from the bar and took the words off of them and then put theological words on them to sing in his worship services. One of the biggest songs that Martin Luther wrote is this song here, Mighty Fortress is Our God. Some people say that this is a tavern song, but the tune itself comes from the tavern. They say this for many reasons. One of the reasons comes from the contemporary Christian music people, and they say if Martin Luther used secular tunes and put theological words on them, then why can't we use that today? If he did that and used it in worship, we can do that today. It seems logical. If it's true, I want to investigate that. A little bit of historical context. Everybody knows about what's going on during this time. It's turbulent. What had happened is the Holy Roman Empire had died. It was in its death throes. It was no longer there. It was gone. So it was, and the Roman Empire was the stabilizing force of all of Europe. And with this gone, with the collapse of the economic and the political structure there, people no longer lived. People were migrating from the rural areas to the cities and to the towns. It's not unlike today, because of the mechanization of farming. The rural countryside is slowly, the population is slowly dying. Not dying, it's slowly getting smaller. So people back then were moving into the cities and into the towns, and with that close quarter living, with people living closer together, disease ran rampant. And the worst disease that was out there is the Black Death, the plague. During this time period, during the Renaissance, during the time period before the Renaissance, it is estimated that this plague killed 35 to 50% of the human population in this time period, and it just didn't discriminate against anybody: rich, poor, religious, non-religious, Christian, Jews, Muslims, anybody. Everybody was dying. And with this death, there was an upswing in the economy, simply because with less mouths to feed, with less people in the world, you could, with the barter economy leaving, people were no longer trading with each other for their goods. They were working, and for their work they got money, and then they would buy what they needed in the marketplace. So as that happened, as death happened, deep philosophical questions were asked. Martin Luther was one of these people who asked these deep philosophical questions. Luther's main goal was to help people understand the gospel, which is God's saving grace for humankind. So he wanted to know, he looked at the scriptures and wanted to know deeper things. So he posted 95 theses on the door of the Wittenberg church. He did that not in order to leave the Roman Catholic Church. He was a Roman Catholic priest. He did not want to leave the church. He simply wanted to debate his ideas that he was finding, these new ideas that the Roman Catholic Church were not teaching. So he wanted to have a scholarly debate with his fellow teachers of theology. But with the invention of the printing press, the movable type printing press, his ideas spread like wildfire, and the Frederick the Elector, the political stability of Germany at that time, found out, and he decided to support Luther, and reform started. So, with that, let's talk a little bit about Luther's idea of music. He was a person of the Renaissance. As a person of the Renaissance, he went back to the Greek. He thought that music was a prime mover, that it did not come from humanity, it came from God, that it came from the source. It was one of, it comes from Aristotle and from the scholastic thinkers of the 12th century theology. But as a Greek person, he thought that music could influence human behavior. He thought that it could influence human behavior and the ethos, whether for the good or for the bad. So he would use that music, he would use that ideas to help people understand the nature of who God was and what God did. So that is where we come to. Luther was a teacher of theology. He wanted nothing more than to help people understand the divine. He wrote books about theology. He wrote the small catechism for men to teach their families at home. He wrote the large catechism for priests to help teach theology in the church. And with these books that he wrote, the large and small catechism, he also wrote hymns for people to sing as they taught in the home or they taught in the church. When he would go around teaching about the Lord's Prayer in the church, in the worship service, the people in the congregation would sing the hymn that he wrote to help them understand the Lord's Prayer. So he used music as an instrument to help people understand the nature of God. He said, "We have put this music on the living and holy Word of God in order to sing, praise, and honor God." So he, as a person of his time, as a man of the Renaissance, he would use melodies from different areas. He would use melodies from the Roman Catholic Church to help write his hymnody. But did he use tavern songs, bar songs? Did he cannibalize them in order to help him teach theology? The answer is no, he did not. Simply because he would not allow his respect for music and his respect for the ethos of the Greeks and his Renaissance ideology. He would not. It would not allow him to use a song from the bar, a song from the tavern. So since this is not true, why did this story come about? Well, it's simple. Musicians have used the word bar for centuries. It meant there's a form of music called bar form. It's also, as you see on the slide, bar lines. So as people would talk about Luther's music, they would hear the word bar, and they just associated the word bar with the tavern. So if Luther used bar form, then he used bar songs. It's simply a misunderstanding of the word bar. It's also there is a saying attributed to Luther that said, "Why should the devil have all the good music?" People have used this to say, well, the devil is control of the bars because bad people go to the bars. Therefore, why should the bar people have all the good songs? The problem is Luther didn't say this, and if he did, he wouldn't have been talking about the devil, the personification of evil that we talk about the devil today. He would have been talking about the Pope, because Luther said that the Pope was the devil. Therefore, my thesis is that whether or not Martin Luther used bar songs, he didn't, and that is the end of my presentation. He never said it. That's all, folks. Have a good day.